It's not exclusive to football, but there is an old saying, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And it could not ring more true than it does in Dallas, because no matter how many new names and faces come in and out of the beautiful state-of-the-art facility that is AT&T Stadium, and no matter what year it is, so long as Jerry Jones is at the helm, the Dallas Cowboys will forever remain at the center of the NFL media universe. No matter how the Cowboys are performing between the lines, they are always front-page news because of Jones' larger-than-life persona. While there are plenty of owners in professional sports who are shrewd businessmen and plenty of owners who have strong presences in their cities, no one compares to Jerry Jones when it comes to piecing those attributes together, not to mention the fact that he complements this unique blend with a level of showmanship that is truly rare to see at the corporate level. Whatever Jerry Jones does, he does it big, whether it is the aforementioned AT&T Stadium or his grand treatment of the franchise's crown jewel Ezekiel Elliott, it doesn't matter. Jones does business a very specific Jerry Jones kind of way. And while there is no arguing that his peculiar methods have done him good in his life, that same mindset may be a cause of concern for the Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott, who is still deeply entrenched in contract negotiations with the Cowboys brass, despite having seamlessly taken the reins from Tony Romo en route to an NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year trophy and 2 trips to the Pro Bowl. Ever since his rookie season when he took over for Romo, who suffered a devastating back injury during the opening drive of a preseason game, Prescott has exemplified what it means to be a professional quarterback. He surveils the pocket with the grace of a seasoned vet, and he has proven to be one of the best decision makers in the entire NFL regardless of tenure. After all, it does take a special kind of talent to go 13-3 as a rookie starting quarterback, and for Dak to do so convincingly enough that ownership decided to retain him as the starter, even once Romo, the longtime starter, returned. Well, that speaks volumes too, especially considering he did it for the Dallas Cowboys with the spotlight firmly fixed in on him and widely respected Pro Bowler waiting in the wings behind him. It is true that the Cowboys haven't been quite the juggernaut team that they were since that 2016 season, but I am hard-pressed to blame Dak Prescott for the reemergence of Cowboys mediocrity. He did regress a little bit during his second season, throwing 13 picks, after throwing just 4 interceptions as a rookie, but he has since rebounded in a big way. Prescott performed very well in 2018, then proceeded to take it to the next level during the 2019 season, when he narrowly missed eclipsing 5,000 passing yards, hitting 4,902, and completed 30 touchdown passes with just 11 interceptions. Dak, now 4 years into his NFL career and coming off of an amazing season, had many people around the league wondering when the Jones family was going to open up the checkbook and get ready to back up the Brinks truck for the guy that was quickly shaping up to both their quarterback of the present and the future. But for some reason, it seemed that the two parties could not even come close to finding an agreement, and every time another quarterback got an extension or a new deal, it only intensified the speculation, and for good reason. I mean, if Ryan Tannehill's handful of steady performances down the stretch of the 2019 season in Tennessee was enough to warrant nearly $30 million a year, one could only imagine what the 26-year-old Prescott would be worth to the Cowboys. The Dak Prescott contract speculation was also magnified by the order of operations deployed by the suits working in Dallas's front office, because not only did they have to pay Prescott, but 2 of the Cowboys' other big-name stars, in Ezekiel Elliott and Amari Cooper, who they dealt a first-round pick for, were in line for new contracts. As the months went by, the situation only became more and more murky for Prescott. First, we saw Ezekiel Elliott sign what was at the time the richest deal that any running back had ever inked. It paid out $90 million over 6 years, which for a running back is insane. Then it was Amari Cooper who got a nice 5-year, $100 million deal with at least $40 million guaranteed. All of a sudden, people started to wonder what exactly the Cowboys were waiting for when it came to extending Dak's deal. Pro Bowl quarterbacks don't exactly grow on trees, and Dallas had already lucked out in having one on the cheap for a handful of seasons, because as a 4th-round pick, Prescott's rookie deal paid out a paltry $2.7 million over 4 years. As far as public opinion was concerned, it was time to pony up and pay the man. However, heading into the 2020 NFL season, the two parties were still struggling to find a middle ground in their negotiations, and with their backs pushed up against the proverbial wall, the Cowboys ownership opted to slap the franchise tag on Prescott, which, from what we have seen, did not go over too well with Prescott's camp. Far be it from me to feel bad for a guy that is about to get $31.4 million for 1 year of work, but considering how valuable Prescott has been to the franchise, the whole situation is a bit confounding. Dak is just 26 years old, and while he is athletic, it is not like he is a true dual-threat quarterback, where he is overtly reliant on a skill that diminishes relatively quickly to the point that you would have durability concerns long-term. And even if he was, Prescott hasn't missed a single start since taking over at the beginning of the 2016 season, which led many people in and around the league to wonder what gives. The confusion surrounding the situation in Dallas was again intensified when the Cowboys shocked everyone by signing former Cincinnati Bengals three-time Pro Bowl quarterback Andy Dalton to a one-year deal worth $7 million. Now, the Cowboys were quick to diffuse any murmurings that the Dalton signing had anything to do with Prescott's contract situation in terms of using Dalton as leverage or threatening Prescott's job security. But as we know in the professional football business, their word on something like that is far from gold. And their public reassurances did little to stop personalities around the NFL from offering up their 2 cents on what they thought the signing might mean for Prescott. Even the longtime Cowboys star, Des Bryant, spoke out, and while the former wide receiver was none too pleased with what he was seeing out of the Jones family, a group that he has had a pretty long relationship with, Bryant took to Twitter, eager to jab the Cowboys brass, lamenting the fact that Dallas had doled out long-term deals to Tony Romo twice without it ever getting to this point. First in 2007 when Romo got a 6-year, $67.5 million extension, and again in 2013 when he got a 6-year, $108 million extension. I guess Des doesn't care much about the fact that the franchise tag will pay Dak more than the annual value of either of those deals, right? I understand that these guys want long-term deals and the financial security that comes with it. But for a 26-year-old who does not exactly look like he is on the verge of falling off the metaphorical cliff, maybe take a prove-it year in Dallas. Whether it is in Dallas or not, someone will sign him to a long-term deal. It's just a matter of who, when, and how much he gets a year. Keep in mind, Dak has still yet to sign the franchise tender and has become increasingly hostile in his demands from Dallas.
Don't care how I want it now.
She was a bad egg.
Calvin Watkins of the Dallas Morning Star previously reported that the Cowboys offered a deal worth $33 million per year with $105 million guaranteed, and apparently Prescott's team all but scoffed at the deal, which, to be fair, he does sort of have a right to do. He's coming off of a season in which he hit career highs in passing yards and touchdowns while leading the NFL's #1 offense in terms of yards from scrimmage. So Dak's representatives feel he has all the leverage in the world, and with an influx of money coming into the league, they believe that we will see a bump in salaries, especially at the quarterback position, similar to what happened in the NBA a few years back. The TV money came in, then all of a sudden the card jumped significantly, and Dak doesn't want to be locked into a middling deal if and when that happens. While everybody seems resigned to the thought that Dallas is still determined to keep Dak in Dallas long term, there is a new variable in the equation, one that might even have a greater impact on where Dak ends up and the erratic nature of Jerry Jones. And that, my friends, is the arrival of Mike McCarthy. After 13 very successful seasons at the helm in Green Bay and a 1-year hiatus from the NFL, Mike McCarthy signed a deal with Jones to take over as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, one of the most high-pressured gigs in all of sports. This is not the first high-profile coaching hire that Jones has made, after all. He did a brief fling with Bill Parcells at the tail end of Bill's coaching career, and of course there was Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer back in the day. But it will be quite a departure from having the likes of Jason Garrett patrolling the Dallas sidelines, as Garrett often appears to be more of a figurehead than anything, bending at Jerry Jones' every whim. And knowing McCarthy, he did not sign on to be a talking head, not by a long shot. The 56-year-old head coach has too strong of a resume and frankly too strong of a personality. I mean, just think about his long-standing power struggle with Aaron Rodgers at the end of his time in Green Bay. Does that seem like a guy who plans on bowing out to the demands of some 4-year quarterback or even ownership for that matter? During his tenure with the Packers from 2006 to 18, he compiled a 125-77 record, adding in 2 ties, led the team to 9 playoff appearances, including 8 straight from 2009 to 16. Only 3 other men in NFL history, including Cowboys legendary head coach Tom Landry, accomplished that feat. Between all that regular season success and the Packers having made it to 4 NFC Championship games under McCarthy, I am fairly certain that he will do whatever he pleases in Dallas. Which begs the question, where does he stand on the Dak Prescott situation? While the answer is yet to be answered definitively, the fact of the matter is that McCarthy has 0 ties to the quarterback, and surely after overseeing so many high-power offenses for nearly a decade and a half, you have to imagine that he feels confident that he can help rejuvenate the career of Andy Dalton, whose tailspin may just be a product of the bumbling ineptitude that is the Cincinnati Bengals football team. And if Dak truly does not want to sign that franchise tag, and the Cowboys let him sign elsewhere as a free agent, that means that they would only be allocating $7 million to their starting quarterback, assuming that Dalton would slide in at QB1. This would offer them some much-needed wiggle room to add a few more pieces on the defensive side of the ball and continue to round out what looks like could be a very solid Dallas team in 2020. I'm not saying that this is something that the Cowboys have to do, or even should do for that matter, but you have to think that these kinds of options are now floating through Mike McCarthy's head as he looks at his new team, trying to figure out what it will take to get them over the hump and back to Super Bowl glory. Either way, the smart money says that Dak Prescott and his people are none too pleased with the addition of another veteran to the Dallas quarterback's room. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time to do that by hitting that subscribe button down below. If you like the video, then like the video. We'd really appreciate it. And last but not least, don't forget to tune in to TPS every single day for more cool videos. We'll see you next time.